meditation. Every year we do one, pretty well on the solstice day. This is really a pre-solstice webinar because my wife Tuya will be doing the actual exact moment solstice in a broadcast, which you should be able to see in the chat box now, and Brett will also excuse me, put it in there. sorry, excuse me. Brett will put the link in for you. Well, it's a special time, really. Every time we begin at the Capricorn solstice, there's a very strong solemnity to the whole process. You know, we're a bridging school towards the new esoteric schools of meditation that will be appearing over the next centuries. 7 of the preparatory schools and 7 of the advanced schools. First, the preparatory schools appear, and we'll be looking at where they will appear. Now, all of our efforts are directed towards that. In his marvelous little book, one of the earliest books, and really not all that easy to understand, it's called Letters on Occult Meditation. The Tibetan master has given us an anticipation of what those schools might be like, how they will be run, and of course behind it all a master is supervising. Well, we're not in the position yet, humanity is not in a position to fulfill all the requirements of those esoteric schools, not quite, not yet, but we can approximate. So I looked around at the offerings, excellent offerings of the various esoteric schools, and I said to myself, how far can we really go in offering the Tibetans curriculum as close to it as we possibly can come? And then I realized that we could come in a way fairly close to that. And that's what we did. We devised a 5-year program that we called Quest Universal, because it sort of mounted from the etheric physical, year 1, to the astral, year 2, to the mental plane, year 3, to the Buddhic plane, year 4, and to the atmic plane, year 5. Of course, when we talk about moving into the spiritual triad, we are receivers more than we are focused exactly on those planes, but the studies became more advanced. Now, we really have 3 programs. One is the to get people started in occult meditation. If they have not had that experience, it's called Meditation Quest. And then imitating, in a way, our University of the Seven Rays Esoteric Psychology course, which we've had going for maybe, 30 years almost. We have the Great Quest, and that deals more with the microcosm, with you as an individual and your relationships to your environment and your inner life and all of that. Then comes the Quest Universal, the 5-year program. Now, the way we've done this, that is maybe the ideal, that you could finish in 5 years, but we give people plenty of stretching room, in case they run into difficulty or need a little more time or whatever. We can even double the amount of time that it takes to complete such a program, just as long as people have the tenacity to stay with it, because I can hardly think of anything at this moment more important to deep students of human nature and students of the inner realities than to absorb what the Tibetan master has given us. As he says, he's given us more than we can ever absorb, but okay, to assimilate as much as may be possible, because a third installment is on its way. He tells us around the year 2025, it's going to expand astrology. Who knows what else it's going to expand? It's the third installment of this series of bridging treatises that began with the work of Helena Petrovna Blavatsky, and DK gave her a lot of information there. She wrote on her own, but he provided her with so much. And then Alice Bailey for 30 years, and now coming on the new installment. I just think that people like ourselves who want to know what's going on with reality, what's really happening on this planet and in this solar system, I would think that we would really want to plunge in and make it a priority, because in the future, these esoteric schools and, of course, the church, the new church, universal church, and the Masonry will be along the three major rays. They will be the opportunity for people to face the initiator and progress with their process in a way that is accelerated and more useful to the hierarchy. There's so much to be done. You see, the world is upside down. Values, where are they? Spiritual values in government and so much of our society are nowhere to be seen. We have to learn how to work on the outside, yes, but also esoterically to reshape humanity's understanding of the things that are really important. And that's why I think this work with the Moria Federation, or any of the good esoteric schools is really important in these last 7 or so years of the era of the Forerunner. That began in 1965 and it ends in 2025. And now we're facing the last 7 years and a few months. By the time we reach Wesak 2025, that's the time of the great centennial conclave, every 100 years. And decisions will be made then. And it will probably be decisions, we are told, that lead to the actual externalization of the hierarchy in its first steps, leading eventually to the reappearance of the Christ. I can't imagine that any of us don't want to really be part of that. That's the biggest thing happening on our planet from the spiritual point of view, and everything else is just effects. But of course, we have to train ourselves to do that. And Master Jwal Kul's ashram is a training ashram, training people for the first, second, and even the third initiation. So by using his curriculum, we begin to move towards the absorption of that kind of knowledge, that kind of meditative technique, that kind of deep understanding, which will make us useful to the hierarchy and therefore useful to humanity. Now, I'm just hoping, I know I have my picture up here so I can kind of talk to you directly, but it may be freezing on your screen and leaving you with all kinds of strange looks. But anyway, I'm just trying to go face to face with you so you understand the importance of absorbing the great ageless wisdom and committing yourself to it. So really use your mind, and your soul-infused mind. Really learn occult meditation. Really become a disciple. I think it's really, really important. All my life I've been on this quest, sometimes wisely, sometimes foolishly. But I'm so grateful to have encountered Master DK and his work. I don't know where we could ever find such a wonderful presentation of the inner possibilities and giving people a sense of their destiny. I would call it their monadic destiny. Where are they really going? And what are the possibilities? And what do they have to do to get there? These are things which Master DK has presented to us. So look, if you want to be part of the Moria Federation, some of you already are, and some not, then just go to our website, Moria, www.moriafederation.com. And there you will find www, maybe someone can write that out for me, moriafederation.com. And, or is it net? Com, I think, will get you there. And there you will see our 3 applications for Meditation Quest, Great Quest, and Quest Universal. If you have some experience with the ageless wisdom and with this kind of thought, then you might really plunge right in to the Quest Universal. If you want to do more work in psychology with yourself, then it'll be Meditation Quest. And if you really want to begin at the beginning with occult meditation, then there's a year program for, Great Quest. There's a year program for Meditation Quest. So our psychology is Great Quest, Meditation Quest, and for those who are very adventurous and have counted the cost of spending a couple of hours a day meditating, studying, and so forth. I know I used to spend 10 hours, 12 hours doing this kind of thing, till I got a little bit dizzy. But anyway, however long it takes to assimilate the great teaching of Master DK. So do think about joining us. It's not too late. You can fill out your applications and you'll have guidance from people who have been in this for quite a while, and they will be very happy to be working with you, All right, so now I'm going to get rid of this image of the outer individual and bring the outer individual to a much more manageable size. Okay. And now we have our meditation based on the approach, to the new esoteric schools. That's what we're bridging toward, the foundation of the new preparatory schools. And as DK, I tell you what, go into Letters on Occult Meditation around page 299, 300, right in there, start reading. It's, and from the Lucis Trust, if you don't have the books, you can find the books, you can download them and so forth in electronic form. It's a very appealing picture of the kind of training that we can receive in this method of occult study and meditation, and of course, the service which arises out of it. Now, in some of this meditation, there's going to be a little bit about the Rainbow Bridge, which connects with the higher worlds. Don't worry if you don't know all of the details concerning it. Just go along with it with your imagination and do the best you can. So we'll link up, we're in all these different countries. We're in Australia, New Zealand, we're in Europe, we're in the United States, we're in Asia. We are apparently separated by time and space, but not really. And finally, we are all one consciousness. We pull back from our usual customary self, our personality vehicles. Maybe I'll tell you what I'll do, and I will put this thing on. And Brett, if I have any trouble being heard, just let me know, okay? Maybe this will be a little less echoey or something. So pull back, the old Raja Yoga idea. I have a body, but I am not that body. I have my emotional, sentient states, attraction, repulsion, etc. But really, I am not those. I have a mind filled with many thoughts, but I'm something else behind all that. What then am I, The observing consciousness behind all that. I am the observing consciousness. And we call it sometimes the soul. I am pure being and the observing consciousness. I am the soul in incarnation, the consciousness within the field of the personality, and I'm also the consciousness outside and deeper than the personality focus. So I kind of draw back and find myself imaginatively in the egoic lotus, in the causal body, in this world of light and of love and of sacrificial will. I'm on the, as it were, the higher mental plane. The image is here where the egoic lotus is found. This is the world of light and love and power. And all of us who are in the Moria Federation are thinking perhaps about joining a deeper esoteric study. We are really on this higher mental plane. We appear as the egoic lotus. Just imagine that. Unfolded to various degrees, our petals unfolded according to our evolution. And we're telepathically in touch with each other. And we have quality within this egoic lotus, color, sound, all the harvest of many incarnations stored as quality within the egoic lotus on the higher mental plane. So that's how we really relate to each other soul to soul. Now, we want to make a bridge, we want to make a bridge to the higher worlds. I won't be too technical about this. This bridge that you see on the right here, sometimes called the Rainbow Bridge, from the highest part of our normal personality mind up to the mind of the spiritual triad. We want to make a bridge so that we can receive the content of the higher planes, the wisdom that's found there, the spiritual will that's found there. So we think of this bridge as consisting of all the different colors, the 7 major colors, all of them, according to the rays as you see. But for any one of us, one or two of the rays will be most important. We may not know what our soul ray is. We may not know what our personality ray is. We will know. Those are the 2 outstanding colors, but for this kind of group meditation and at this time, we're going to use the color indigo. All of us. The indigo blue, the great synthetic ray of our solar system, and also representing the soul ray of our planet, of our solar system. Our planet is the 2nd ray, yes, indigo, and the synthetic ray of the solar system, the great 2nd ray. So we as it were, we watch we think of this bridge up towards the triad. We think of it as colored particularly by the color indigo, beautiful indigo. So we can bridge to the higher triad where true planetary wisdom is to be found. That's what we want to be able to do. So we're going to that from the astral body to the intuitive level, there is a link, and that we can begin to receive the intuition, which always thinks about the welfare of the whole and not about personal things. In this indigo colored bridge, we're going to project a line of living light across the rainbow bridge together, and we're going to sound the Om outwardly 3 times, but inwardly we will be thinking the very powerful mantra, I see the greatest light. You see it there. I see the greatest light. So we're going to do that, and we'll sound on one of the gray notes, the G. 3 times the sacred word up towards the mental permanent atom, towards the Buddhic vehicle, towards the Atmic vehicle, and towards our root, the monad. It may be a number of lives before we really know what the spirit is, what the monad is, but we can begin to think of pure being, which lies at the root of our nature. So 3 times the Om, thinking inwardly, I see the greatest light. We're projecting in a way towards a brilliant blue-white diamond high above the group. Of course, there's no high and low, or really in and out. It's all vibration, but we can visualize it thus. I see the greatest light towards the unfettered enlightenment of Shambhala. All of us together. The great, unfettered, unchained enlightenment exists in our monad, in our real essence, and in Shambhala. And more humanity via the Antikarana will be learning how to contact the divine will, and even later the divine purpose, so that we can truly represent it in our own environment through the divine plan. So it is as if we have a connection to very high spaces together. And we'll, try to make this eventually the way of familiar approach. We have to have the soul within us, the loving unified consciousness, and then we can project and touch, perhaps, these higher vibratory areas where the hierarchy itself is focused. We're not focused there yet, but we're trying to come in touch with it. Now, let us imaginatively and as a group open our thought to the one fundamental school of occultism in Shambhala. This is the inspiration for all we do with the esoteric schools, no matter what kind of esoteric school is appearing within the Trans-Himalayan tradition. This is the inspiration, the great source of unchained enlightenment. And who's the head of that? It is Sanat Kumara himself, that projection of the planetary logos, that emanation of the planetary logos, who is the greatest example, we are told, of the teaching ray upon our planet. I mean, Christ, of course, is the great teacher, but here is the Lord of the world, the greatest example of the teaching ray upon our planet. So it's a deeply Ray 1 emanation, but at the moment Ray 2 is the most prominent. And although none of us is in a position to walk in the door of Shambhala, as some people imagine they do, we can begin to be willing to take in the divine will coming from the deepest parts of ourselves. And that would mean we would serve the divine plan to help the hierarchy externalize and to pave the way for the reappearance of the great teacher, the Lord Maitreya, known by different names in different places, but in the West as the Christ and by other names elsewhere. So we're lining up then with these great interior sources, and we want to learn how better to serve them. This is one stupendous university, says the Tibetan. It's got 4 major branches, or now and to come. The one fundamental school which increasingly we hope to represent. Now there is the Trans-Himalayan branch, serving the 1st and 4th and 5th sub-races of the Aryan race, but remember, the Aryan race is not about outer race. It's about consciousness. It's about the mentally focused consciousness. So a person could be in any race and be a member psychologically, mentally, of the Aryan race. Then there is the Southern Indian branch, and it particularly is serving the 2nd and 3rd sub-races of the Aryan race, which have to do, I think, with the ancestors of the Egyptians and some that were found in South America, and also the Arab group. And then There is a branch that works with the fourth root race and has two fourth root race adepts at its head. We don't know who they are, but we do know that Confucius, we are told, the member of the hierarchy who was Confucius, is getting ready to appear again in China. And this will be a very interesting result. And finally, the fourth branch of the one stupendous university is the branch that is in process of forming and will have its headquarters in the West, in the Occident, at some place not yet disclosed. And it has for its main object the instructing of those connected with the coming sixth root race. Well, we're only in the sixth subrace now of the sixth root race, and the seventh, there may be an overlapping, but the sixth root race will last 10 million years, we are told. This is a long-term process. So think of it, the one fundamental school and these different branches of this great inner university that in which the knowledge exists, true knowledge, true esoteric knowledge. So we are increasingly mentally polarized individuals, or at least mentally focused. And for the moment, the Trans-Himalayan branch is the one that is our branch, and the one that should be instructing us, and the Tibetan, Master Kutumi, Master Morya, so forth, even the Mahachohan. These are the great beings who are related to the Trans-Himalayan branch, and they are our instructors. I mean, when you read a book like Yogananda's autobiography, you're realizing you're dealing with the Southern Indian branch, with great adepts in that branch. But now the Tibetan has been giving forth the teaching in the Trans-Himalayan branch, which requires mental focus and eventually mental polarization between the second and third initiations. So that's the high scores of the kind of educational work we seek to do. It's so easy not to know these things, but we have been instructed. So now, imaginatively, we take our focus into the presence of the Christ, the Lord Maitreya, the head and really the heart of the spiritual hierarchy of our planet. However you want to imagine the great Lord, he is in his Maya Virupa, his will created body. And we offer our heart and soul to the great Lord. And there's a stage of discipleship called the pledged disciple, It's beyond the strictly probationary stage. Maybe some of us are there, or maybe so. we pledge that we will do all we can to facilitate his reappearance and the upliftment of humanity under his guidance. The mantra goes, forgetting the things which lie behind, I will strive toward my higher spiritual possibilities. I dedicate myself anew to the service of the coming one, and will do all I can to prepare men's minds and hearts for that event. I have no other life intention. And realize that these new emerging esoteric schools, eventually every country of any degree of development will have one. At first there will be the 7 and the 7, but eventually all relatively developed nations will have its own esoteric school. Realize that these schools in which you wish to participate, bridging towards them for the future, will contribute to the success of the Great Lord's mission as the Bodhisattva for the Aquarian Age. In the past, he was with us externally for 3 years, and now he will be with us for perhaps 2,000 years. It will make a tremendous difference in human society and the direction of humanity, and you're helping. Now, in these new esoteric schools, there are 6 masters, particularly, that assist the Christ, as it were, at the center of it all. Master Moria, Master Kuthumi, Master Jwalkul, Master Hilarion, one of the English masters, not specified, and Master Rakotsi, the Mahachohan. So seek in a way to come en rapport with these 6, forming 2 triangles, the 6-pointed Star of Solomon, a great astronomical symbol with the Christ at the center. We are attempting to aid these masters in their present and future task to bring the true ageless wisdom to those members of humanity who can rightly respond. we focus especially on the Master Moria, who we are told is the head of all esoteric schools and organizations. If the esoteric schools are true to their founding purpose, they will have a great first ray revelation at their heart, even though this kind of education takes place on the second ray. Here we are at the beginning of the 10th year of the Federation, with the Sun and Saturn closely conjunct in the powerful sign Capricorn, the same degree. It's an excellent time to recommit our powers to assist in the education of those members of humanity who can respond. So we attempt to feel from Master Moria that great sustaining power, sustaining such efforts as ours and all similar efforts, and selflessly as a group of students and prospective students, we invoke him as he has instructed us to do. So he's at the very top of our six-pointed star, and the Master R at the manifestational point opposite him, and there are different ways to arrange these images on the six-pointed star, but just think of it as the six masters on the indigo star, each with his function in the various schools, and especially in the schools that are the Trans-Himalayan and the coming school for the sixth root race. And the Christ, the Lord Maitreya, is at the center. And above the Christ, we visualize Sanat Kumara inspiring. He's the head of the esoteric schools. He is inspiring the Christ and inspiring the six masters in two triangles in the six-pointed star, who will be responsible for the teaching which is given behind the scenes, of course. These are energetic realities, and those who are looking forward to their work in the Aquarian age along the educational line within these schools, representing these schools, we have to be aware of the great masters and Shohans who are supporting the effort. Now, some of you will know from your reading that the preparatory schools will be 7, and they will occur in the following places. Sometimes there's a choice and we don't know which way the choice will go. Each is a kind of ray school, and there will be a discussion about which rays are involved. But a school in Greece or Syria, a preparatory school in the Midwest of the United States, a school in southern France, a school in either Scotland or Wales, a school in Sweden, a school in New Zealand, and one in Japan. They will be for the nationals of those countries, but others may journey to those countries there to study. And the ray of the country will probably have a lot to do with the essential ray nature of the school. For instance, if we look at the 5th ray soul of France, perhaps that will be influential in the southern France school. If we look at the 7th ray, which is so prominent in the Scandinavian countries and in Russia, which is connected as an advanced school with the Swedish school, the 7th ray may be it. And interestingly, Japan has a 4th ray soul, he tells us. So all of that has to be worked out. It's not important right now. What is important is the basics of spiritual occultism have to be absorbed and spread widely, so that, as Blavatsky tells us, occultism can win the day by the end of the 21st century. Lots of changes will be required. So we'll be connected at first with the preparatory schools, maybe in our next incarnation or the one after that. And then, depending on our background and so forth, the advanced school, a very advanced sort of 4th ray, or rather 1st ray even, school in Egypt. A lot has to transpire. Probably a 2nd ray school, advanced in California. Italy, we know, is a 3rd ray school. Ireland has so much of the 4th ray. And that will be, interestingly, the Bodhisattva's school. Russia, the 7th ray school. And Australia, I don't want to hazard a guess right now. Western China, which is really Tibet, will somehow be a great synthetic school. And the Tibetan work that has gone on there will be a great synthetic offering to the world. Now, you'll read and you'll see that even now some of the advanced schools, even then when he wrote, there are stirrings. Some possibilities exist to start the progress. When you work in the Morya Federation, because eventually Master Morya will be head of all these, he'll be the guiding Chohan of the 1st ray ashram in the 6th root race. He will make a synthesis out of all of this. So the plans are laid, And we all can be involved if we care enough. One way or another, initiation must come, whether through Masonry, the Church, or the banded esoteric organisms. So we have great opportunity. So we're like a vital energy seed that is trying to stimulate such a spiritual initiative so it develops rightly. When the solstice comes later, you know, and if you do join the Moria Federation, then an inner oath of your commitment, of your own devising, would be useful, so that we avoid that kind of halfwayness that Master Moria, he has no use for it. The lukewarmness, you know. Real commitment, because the opportunity is so great. Whatever your service, real commitment. And that's the sacrifice. And that's really what is expected. So maybe, you know, a little later today, we will have the broadcast for the solstice. Just devise that inner commitment for yourself, whether it's through one of these schools that you intend to serve or whatever your service may be. Deepen your commitment. So as we prepare for the solstice, we'll imagine ourselves to be in alignment with the Lord of the world as a group, with the Lord Maitreya, with the six-pointed indigo star of the six masters who either now or in the future will be working with these schools. And we are like a circle around them. Some of us may be faculty already, and we would turn outward to help the students. And some of us may be prospective students and present students. We are still turned inward to face the indigo star and the faculty and the Christ, with the Lord of the world behind it all. And gradually we too, on the outer circle, we will turn outward and we will bless with light and love and sacrificial power those members of humanity who can respond. And that's coming. So we have a moment of silence here, and we imagine the Lord of the world, the greatest example of the teaching ray, standing in the midst of unfettered enlightenment, the one fundamental school, coming down through the, in this case, the Trans-Himalayan group, of the masters who help, and the Christ at the center, and those who teach, and those who learn, and those who learn to teach. And we offer in the silence We offer our gratitude to the great ones for the privilege of being able to participate in the great teaching in a group form, whatever esoteric school we may enter, or whatever service we may do, or if we enter the Moria Federation. It will help us plant a vital seed for the emergence of the future preparatory and advanced schools of meditation. So somehow, let's all be part of this process. We're going to transmit blessing to the world, appreciation of the stimulation we can receive from the inner group of Masters and Shohans and the Great Lord, the Christ, and the still greater Lord of the world. And together we will, blessing the world, sound the great invocation. From the point of light within the mind of God, let light stream forth into the minds of men. Let light descend on earth. From the point of love within the heart of God, let love stream forth into the hearts of men. May Christ return to earth. From the center where the will of God is known, let purpose guide the little wills of men, the purpose which the Masters know and serve. From the center which we call the race of men, let the plan of love and light work out, and may it seal the door where evil dwells. Let light and love and power restore the plan on earth. Friends, the solstice is coming. I hope you can join us. As it said here in the chat box, you have the link and you have the time, 2:40 p.m. GMT, when Atuya will begin the broadcast. And then for those who are the members of the Blue Rose Sisterhood, we do have a meeting coming up at 1 o'clock GMT. Friends, your applications for the Moria Federation can be downloaded at www.moriafederation.com, and I hope that some of you will join us in deepening your understanding of spiritual occultism and the possibility of applying it in service. The opportunity is rare and necessary before the third installment can have a real chance of success. Hardly anyone will know what you're doing, and it all seems very arcane, okay? But you know you are interested in reality and in the true nature of the human being. So we offer that opportunity to you to persist, to plunge in, to persist, no matter what the personality may throw up in your way, to persist until you win the day. Thank you for being here for this 10th inaugural meditation. And, take a look at this. I don't know if you can see it or not, but here's good old Saturn. Pluto, Sun and Pluto are right together in the natal chart of the Moria Federation, exactly. And Saturn is there now. And wow, what a combination. Great time to begin purposefully with all solemnity. We'll see you later this in our afternoon anyway. I don't know what time it'll be for you. Sometimes in the early morning, sometimes late at night. But I think it's worth making the little sacrifice to forego peace, to forfeit rest, and in the stress of pain to lose myself and find myself, thus entering into peace. To all this I most solemnly pledge myself, invoking my higher self. Okay, many blessings, lots of love, and let's work together. Let's work together. See you then.